Okay, I work for Starbucks, but I'm not, I can never own it or be left an heir to it. So the heirship can only stay with inside of the bloodline. But as long as I work for Starbucks, I can get a pension maybe at the end of 25 years. I get a paycheck at the end of the week, all those things. So I'm now working, or I'm receiving benefits because I'm abiding by all of the rules of Starbucks. But as far as an heir, I can never be an heir. So what happens now is that as long as Starbucks is making money, I'm now being fed through the income or the monies that they're making. And this is what it's actually saying in Exodus, the 15th chapter, verse 27. If a person was to ask me that, I would read it this way. Well, the way that's actually here. And they, which is Israel, came to Elam, which were 12 wells of water. These 12 wells of water now represents the nation of Yashra'al. And then it talks about there was 70 palm trees, and they encamped there by the waters. And so the question now becomes now, if we have the nation of Israel being the 12 wells of water, and then we had 70 palm trees, the 3 palm trees is the number 70. So that the way that these palm trees are able to grow and get their nutrients now is because of the water. And then we see where we talk about doing the Feast of Sukkot. It makes mention of 70 bulls being killed amongst doing that from the 15th to the 21st. Then we go to the book of Revelation, the 22nd chapter, which I found very interesting, is that it says, and he showed me a pure river of water of life, clear as crystal, proceeding out of the throne of Elohim and of the Lamb. In the midst of the street of it, on either side of the river, was there the tree of life. Yahusha Mashiyach, I believe that this tree of life is actually talking about an olive tree. This olive tree now which bear 12 manners of fruit. These 12 manners of fruit is 12 tribes of Israel, and yield her fruit every month. And the leaves of the trees was for the healing of the nations. And so now, putting everything in its proper perspective now is that we have the water, the way that the palm trees is getting its nutrients is because of the water, which is the 12 tribes of Israel. And then we go to Revelation 2nd chapter. It talks about these 12 trees, these manners of fruits and things like that. But the leaves now were for the healings of the nations. And so now, that's pretty much.
Okay. So I'll close out with this. The only reason I'm sharing that one because when they have a question, they're going to be looking at it from an angle that by them keeping the law, statutes, and commandments means they're going to obtain salvation. They're going to have an opportunity to be with the Creator forever. Mm-hmm. And if they're going to have the opportunity to be with the Creator forever, then they're going to look at it then where they were not made of a covenant at all. Mm-hmm. Somehow they became grafted into the covenant, thereby allowing them to obtain eternal life, mm-hmm. thereby being with the actual children. Right,
exactly, and I agree with that because you know what's also interesting too now is that in Hebrew, in Hebrews it talks about as long as the testator is alive, okay, the person that's actually responsible for inheriting the inheritance can't receive the inheritance until the inheritor dies. So, for example, me and More Eliyahu, okay, we're good friends, the whole 9 yards. Everything is Tobio between him and I. I live in the same house with him, the whole 9 yards. Now, hypothetically, someone dies in your family, all right? Only you can receive the inheritance. Me and you can be as cool as night and day, all day long. When it comes time for that lawyer now to read that insurance policy, I can never say, Eliyahu is my man, that's my friend, we hung out tooth and nail. I want the inheritance. What's going to actually happen now is that on that life insurance policy, it's going to say Eliyahu Yashra'al. And I can never get it. But this can happen. Being that now me and Eliyahu are cool, we're the best of friends. Once Eliyahu gets his and as long as I'm now, okay, abiding by all of the rules and regulations in your house, you will say, listen, Kassad, you know what? Here's a couple of dollars here. You know what? You can do that. But you know what? I can never be whatever your last name is. I can never be that. I can only receive some benefits or be grafted in, if we want to use that word, grafted in, or receive some benefits from it. First of all, I must acknowledge that you're the heir. It is now your responsibility, because me and you, the best of friends, you can now say, listen, you know what, Kasadabak, again, here's a couple of dollars. And I must always acknowledge that you are the inheritor. I rent the apartment, but it's your house. That's just the way that I'm looking. So that's the only way that I'm able to receive, or be, if we would say, grafted in and getting some of your money, I would have to be your friend. And I would have to be your friend of some time. You know, I can't be, I just can't be your friend today. And then all of a sudden you can start passing off dollars. So that was about it. Because I want to get back to the lesson here. Because I don't, yes.
So here's my thought on Gentiles. The children of Israel were never supposed to be considered Gentiles. So the Gentiles are who they are all in of themselves. The children of Israel became Gentiles by way of punishment. So once we go back into the land and we get our inheritance back, and then we go back and get our inheritance, the children of Israel will no longer be considered Gentiles. So the punishment that was upon them is off completely. And the Gentiles are the same who they are. So we don't make, so the Gentiles are the Gentiles, period. And everything that pertains to the Gentiles, are we saying that that's, even though when Paul was talking to the Israelites, he didn't really come to minister to the other nations. So these other nations are no longer, so the Gentiles are no longer considered as the other nations. So we cannot apply what Paul has said to the other nations, is what I'm saying. Does that sound right?
The best way that I can answer that question is that I would have to read the chapter and verse that you're referring to. Because a short answer would be this. When Shaul is ministering, Paul is ministering, whenever I find or see the word return or repent, something clicks in my head. In order for, let's say, just hypothetically, you and your wife become separated or divorced. And if you're trying to woo your Isha back, and if you're telling her to return, that means that at some point, you and her had a relationship.
Yeah, we have a relationship.
So you couldn't tell my Isha, or tell Zakane's Isha, or tell Mori Eliyahu's Isha, or tell Mori's Isha, return back to me the love of my youth. They're going to look at you like you're crazy.
Right.
You know, so it would have to be at some point, we have a relationship.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
You know, so what I'm finding now is that even a lot of times when Shaul is speaking, and he's saying things like, remember Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, remember our forefathers did this and stuff like that, that means that the audience now was able to relate to what he was saying.
You have to be here.
Yeah, exactly. I could never go to that house right across the street and they just say, listen, you know what, remember what happened last week when we all went to dinner? And I'm like, we didn't go out to dinner last week. Well, remember our grandfather did this and he did that and stuff like this, and we played as little kids and stuff like that? I'm not going to know what you're talking about.
Right.
So the conversation that the Talmudim of Yahusha Mashiyach, when they go out to minister, they're by their ministering, he's asking them to remember something.
I see. That's good.
Yeah, it would have to.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and so again, but we do see, again, me personally, I think that Ruth was a Moabite, but if you come across a person from another nation and he wants to follow Torah, I don't have a problem or an issue with that. They're going to receive benefits and all those things like that, but I just want to make sure that everybody understands that Israel is the heir. And another thing too now, well, I don't want to go there because let me just finish this here. We can talk about that a little bit later, all right? Let me just try to finish this here because it's getting kind of late. Let's go
Psalm 23:5.
Psalm 23:5, and I blame the drawings on you, Shemai. You missed it. I blame that drawing on you. You know, because that's my guy.
That's Cinnamon North. Way up there.
Yeah. So where we at? We're going to speed this up because I just want to finish this up right quick. I mean, it's just what Psalm? What is it again?
23:5.
Okay, 23 and 5.
Tehillim, or Psalms 23 verse 5. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil.
With oil. We want to keep bringing this point out with oil. Psalms 104 and 15. And Moray, if you can get Isaiah Moray, Yahuah, if you can get Isaiah 13 and 14. And if Moray, our Chief Moray, if you can get Psalms 83, 1 and 5. And you can do the last one. You know, Isaiah 1, 30, 31. Okay. I'm going to speed it up.
Psalms 104 verse 15. And wine that maketh glad the heart of man, and oil to make his face to shine, and bread which strengtheneth man's heart.
Right, so this olive oil here is used for immersion and anointing the righteous. So we have the next one, please.
Yeah.
Yahusha 13:4.
Yahusha, Isaiah 13:4. The noise of the multitude in the mountains, like as a great people, a tumultuous noise of the kingdoms of nations gathered together. Yahuah of hosts mustereth the host of the battle.
Right, so we said the Father is mustering up an army against a certain group of people, and these people that he's mustering this army against is this olive branch. All right, this olive branch here, and remember I told you, remember the word Tumult, T-U-M-U-L-T. Moray, if you can read that for me, the book of Psalms 83, 1 and 5.
Okay.
All right.
A song of songs of Asaph, it says, keep not your silence, O Elohim. Hold not your peace, and be not still, O El. For lo, your enemies make tumult, and they that hate you have lifted up their head. They have taken crafty counsel against your people, and consulted against your hidden ones. They have said, come, and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Yashra'al may be no more in remembrance.
Right, so we see Isaiah the 13th chapter, verse 4 is talking about this tumult of this group of people that's going to now come because Israel is not following the laws, statutes, commandments, and they're going to come now and break this the nation apart here. Isaiah 1 and 30, 31. We're just going to speed it up here.
Isaiah 1 verse 30 and 31. For you shall be as an oak whose leaf fadeth, and as a garden that have no water. And the strong shall be as tow, and the maker of it as a spark. And they shall both burn together, and none shall quench them.
Wow. This is what's going to happen to the olive tree. Okay, revisiting the questions, the last page here. How many menorahs, again, are there in the holy place according to Torah? One. Okay. Zechariah 4, 1 and 6. I'm just going to just read it through as I can, please. Zechariah, let's get it to. We're almost done, Mr. Cobb. We're almost done. Zechariah, the 4th chapter, verses 1 through 6. Almost done.
Zechariah 4 verse 1. And the Malachim that talked with me came again, and wakened me, as a man that is wakened out of his sleep, and said unto me, what seest thou? And I said, I have looked, and behold, a candlestick, all of gold, with a bowl upon the top of it, and his 7 lamps thereof, and 7 pipes to the 7 lamps, which are upon the top thereof, and 2 olive trees by it, one upon the right side of the bowl, and the other upon the left side thereof.
So we know what these 2 olive trees are now. There's northern and southern kingdom. Read on.
So I answered and spake to the Malachim that talked with me, saying, what are these, my sovereign? Then the Malachim that talked with me answered and said unto me, knowest thou not what these be? And I said, no, my sovereign. Then he answered and spake unto me, saying, this is the word of Elohim unto Zerubbabel, saying, not by might nor by power, but by my Ruach, saith Yahuah Elohim of hosts.
Hallelujah. So we need to see now, what does this spirit of this Ruach has to do with this menorah? All right? Yeshayahu 11 and 2. If we can get More Eliyahu to get that for me, please. The book of Isaiah, the 11th chapter, verse 2. We need to know, why are we talking about, we already know the two olive branches are, why are we still talking about this menorah here? Yeshayahu, the 11th chapter, verse 2.
And the Ruach of Yahuah shall rest upon him, the Ruach of wisdom and understanding, the Ruach of counsel and might, the Ruach of knowledge and of the fear of Yahuah.
Right, so hallelujah. So when we begin to talk about this spirit or this Ruach, looking at the menorah, we look at these 7 principles here. And these are Hebrew characteristics of righteousness. Again, these 7 principles now are Hebrew characteristics of righteousness. So these 7 bowls here, we have now counsel, might, understanding, knowledge, wisdom, and fear. All right, very important. Revelations 4 and 5, Zakane, please, Chief Zakane. And in the midst of this now is Yahusha Mashiyach. So the characteristics of the Mashiyach is that he's going to have counsel, might, understanding, knowledge, wisdom, and fear. And we went over about the whole body, and he's standing in the midst of the candlestick and everything like that. So Revelation 4 and 5, we're almost done, We're almost done.
Revelation 4 verse 5. And out of the throne proceeded lightnings and thunderings and voices. And there were 7 lamps.
7 lamps, okay.
7 lamps of fire burning before the throne, which are the 7 ruachs of Elohim.
Anybody know the 7 ruachs of Elohim? You can take it out? Not you, Moray, Eliyahu, not. We don't want Chief Moray. Zabu, do you know the 7 spirits of the Ruach of the Father of Yahuah?
No.
Okay. Parag, do you know? Shemai?
What is thee which you have in the Lord? Exactly. Mind, understanding.
Exactly, right. Exactly. It's not a trick question.
This one you just read in Isaiah.
Yeah, just making sure everybody's paying attention. Proverbs, the 6th chapter, verse 23. Not trying to put nobody on the spot. Proverbs, I came, 6:23. We almost done. Everybody's ready for that ghetto burger, right? Okay, Proverbs 6:23.
Proverbs 6 verse 23. For the commandment is a lamp, and the law is light, and reproofs of instruction are the way of life.
Hallelujah, hallelujah. All right. So this lamp here that's talked about in verse 23 is actually the Hebrew word near, and near nar, that's candle, and sometimes you can add a yod or a mem, that means plural, and then sometimes you can add a the th, and that so that's also candles would be naruth, I guess, right? Naruth. Yeah, okay, gotcha. I just want to make sure, all right? You got a huge scholar here. The question is, are you walking and living Torah? You're talking about the principles of the menorah. Okay, this question gets real interesting, and we end up here. What I found frightening with the 7 churches that was in Asia Minor, in Revelation, is 5 of them, Mishpachar, they lost their lights, or they let their lights burn out. So as I came, if you could read Revelation, the 2nd chapter, it's a lot, but Mishpachar, that's the end. The Revelation, the 2nd chapter, the first verse. Actually, I'm going to need you to read the whole chapter because it's very important. It's extremely, and we'll be done.
Revelation 2, verse 1. Unto the Malachim of the church of Ephesus.
So this is the first church. Again, keeping everything in its proper concept or perspective here is that John the Revelator now is speaking about these 7 churches. Remember the 7 stars and the 7 churches? I mean, so we're going to now talk about them a little bit. Read on. First one is Ephesus.
Ephesus, right. These things saith that holdeth the 7 stars in his right hand, who walketh in the midst of the 7 golden candlesticks.
Listen, he's talking about the one in Ephesus. Read on.
I know your works, and your labor, and your patience, and how